Hey guys, welcome to another lesson of learning Japanese. Today we're going to go over three particles that are usually indicative of locations. So when you want to say a sentence and you want to clarify where something happened or where you're going or anything like that, we're going to use these particles. So first up we have the locational marker which is technically the hiragana letter he, but when it's used in this context to denote a location, it's pronounced just as the vowel hiragana . So this particle is used when you're referring to something moving from one location to another, and is the indication of the destination. We're going to get a lot of practice with these particles in sentences as we move along in the curriculum. They'll become just natural examples in the examples of the other grammar patterns just because they're so easy, but we'll cover a few examples in this video just to get us started. So our first example is just going to be I'm going home, or I'm returning home. In Japanese, that would be something along the lines of Uchi kaerimasu, and that means home to returning, basically, literally translated. And we see here that is the particle that is used to denote that destination of home. In our second example, we're going to try to cover a somewhat more uncommon instance of using in a sentence. For our example sentence, we have Ashita dokoka ikimasu ka, and what this means is basically tomorrow are you going to go anywhere? And in this sentence, we use the interrogative dokoka, and it makes the sentence a unique case because it has the particle ka after the word doko, which usually means where, but in this context it kind of means anywhere. Are you going anywhere tomorrow? So despite there being a particle ka already succeeding the word doko, we still have to have the particle to denote the location. So basically the thing that we have to take note of here is that when we do use the particle as a location marker with interrogatives that use the particle ka as well, we do not drop any of those or either of those particles, and it's that happens after ka. It's always positioned after the ka when used in this context. And that's basically the quick rundown on the particle which is, again, a location marker. Next, we're going to move on to the particle ni, which is probably the most common particle in the Japanese language just because it has so many functions. In this video, we're going to focus on the one function that we already just learned, because in ni used as a locational marker, it is interchangeable basically with the particle So in our previous two examples, we could have just used ni and it would have been perfectly and grammatically correct. So just to be safe, we'll repeat those examples, but we'll use ni as the particle instead. So the first one, we had Uchi ni kaerimasu, I am returning home. And there's no difference to the meaning behind the sentence. It's exactly the same as when used with For the second one, we have Ashita dokoka ni ikimasu ka. And again, it's the same. So basically the point of this is that ni and are very much interchangeable. For starting learners, if you're having trouble deciding upon which one to use and still being grammatically correct, just because ni appears in the Japanese language way more than people tend to just use ni by default just to make sure that they're correct at any given instance. So that's that. Okay, I lied about ni. We actually have to cover the particle ni in two senses because it also, as well as being a destination marker, it is a locational marker. And what this means is it marks the location in which something exists. And this could be a person or a thing or whatever. It's just an existential location marker. With that being said, that means that this does not denote where an action occurs. It just denotes where something exists. So what do I mean by exists? Well, we have verbs that are called existential verbs basically, and they just denote that something is or something is being. And in English that would be something like, oh, right now he is home. In the Japanese language, we have the existential verbs aru, iru, and irassharu. And these basically do the same thing. They tell you that something exists in a place, and they have extended functions, but we won't cover that in this video because that's much too complicated and irrelevant to the topic at hand. So what's best is to now provide an example just to get the idea. So our example sentence for this particle structure is King Kongu World Trade Center no ue ni imasu. So there was a hint of English in that. There was King Kong and there was the World Trade Center, and that makes it easier for us to understand. The subject of the sentence is King Kong. We're gonna make the locational marker indicate the location as the World Trade Center, and we have of course, the particle itself, ni, right after the World Trade Center. Then we have the verb imasu, and that is the mas form of the verb iru, which I just cited as an example of an existential verb. As for what I mean by the mas form of that verb, that's a different topic in the realm of verb conjugations, and there is a separate video for that, so don't worry about the technicalities of that right now. So just know that it is the verb iru. So what we have is basically King Kong is on top of the World Trade Center. No ue ni is what on top means, basically. So there we have it. King Kong isn't necessarily doing anything on the World Trade Center as far as our sentence goes, what we're telling to our audience. He's just there, and that's why we use the locational marker ni instead of the following locational marker de, which denotes actions. Next, we have the particle de, which is also a location marker, but it is not interchangeable with ni or in any sense. De as a particle also has multiple functions, but today, or not today, but in this video, we're going to focus on de as a locational marker. When you're using the particle de as location marker, it is used in conjunction with verbs that are action verbs. It denotes that an action is occurring in a given place, and it has to be an action because when you're just saying that something exists somewhere, we use that with ni, as we said earlier. So it's a pretty straightforward function, and we'll provide one or two examples right now just to clarify on the usage of it. And again, as we go along in this video series, these particles and their usage are going to be just in every single sentence, basically. So you'll get enough practice if this isn't enough. So first up, we have the example sentence, Heya de anime o mimasu. And basically what that means is I watch anime in my room, because heya is room, anime is anime, and mimasu is watch, and the de is the location marker that marks that it is inside your room that you watch anime. So there's that. Mimasu is to watch, and it's an action verb, not an existential verb or a stative verb or anything like that. It denotes that you're doing something active with your eyes. Yeah. Next up, we have another really simple example sentence. 昨日図書館で勉強しました. And that means yesterday I studied in the library. 昨日 is yesterday. 図書館 is library. De is the location marker to denote that the library is where the following verb happened, and the following verb that we provided is 勉強しました. 勉強 is a noun verb. Basically, it means it's a noun, but you can attach the probably the most common verb suru after it to make it into a noun verb. So 勉強しました is studied. So there we have it. De as a location marker, it tells you where an action occurred. It doesn't tell you where something exists or where something is going. It's just a where something occurred, basically. Actions and actions and actions.